everyone, it's Max and welcome to a new video. Today's video is the Halloweentown Book Tag. Now, if you are around my age, you will remember the Halloweens of Disney Channel playing on Marathon, all 4 Halloweentown movies, and just being so excited. I love these movies so much, so when I was looking up some Halloween-ish book tags and saw this one, I knew I had to do it. I'm so excited. I love these movies. I need to watch them again. It's been a few years, but they are iconic, especially that, you know, that actor change for Marnie between the 3rd and the 4th movies. Made no sense, but I'm still here for it. So without further ado, let's get into the tag. The first prompt is Halloweentown. What is a place that you wish was real? And for this, I'm going with any institute from the Shadowhunters universe, because I would just love to be a Shadowhunter living at the institute, learning how to like kick ass and kill demons. And I just wish they were real, and I wish I could be part of it. And I will never stop wishing for that, probably. Next prompt is Marnie. What is a book that you like that involves witches? Now, witches are kind of my least popular supernatural creature that I read about, if that makes sense. I don't know why. I just don't really read a lot of books that center solely on witches. I could bring up a couple books that I want to read about witches. There's The Year of the Witching, there's The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, and I'm sure many more, but those are really the only 2 that are on my radar right now, and I haven't really read that many books. There is the anthology Toil and Trouble, which I did enjoy, but to go for a book and a book series, I am going with Heir of Fire specifically, and every book after this in the Throne of Glass series. Witches like Manon and the 13 are introduced in this book and continue on in the series, and I love them. And all of the witches I think are very fascinating. There are 3 types of witches in this world. There's Yellow Legs, Iron Teeth, and Blue Bloods. I think they've got blue skin, but I don't know like what they're called specifically. But I love this series, of course. This is about a assassin named Selena Sardathian who is entered into the king's trials to become the king's assassin. And a lot of stuff happens after it. I love this series, and I love Manon and the 13. The next prompt is Sophie. What is your favorite middle grade? And I'm going basically with any book by Tamora Pierce. First Test is one of my favorites by her, but I would recommend the Alana series first, which is the Lioness Quartet. Something like that. I loved that series, but I have really enjoyed all of the books by her that I've read. I have read 2.5 series by her. This is the first book in her 3rd series, so I definitely don't suggest starting with this one. But the Alana Quartet is about a girl who pretends to be a boy to become a knight, and she becomes involved with a lot of politics and war, and it's phenomenal, and I have enjoyed all the books by her. The next prompt is Dylan. What is a book with a magical school? And I'm going with one that I don't think I have ever seen really mentioned on BookTube, and that is The Rhythmatist by Brandon Sanderson. I think that this is a very underhyped Sanderson. A lot of people, when they ask what they should start with, people say the Mistborn trilogy, which I agree with, but this is so much easier to get into. It's a standalone fantasy that's not even that long, and I really, really enjoyed it. This is a book that takes place in a world where people use chalk as magic. They can bring 2-dimensional figures to life, and our main character desperately wants to be able to do that. They are called rhythmatists, and he goes to this university, but he isn't able to do it until people start going missing, and he has to figure out what's going on. I really enjoyed this. This was my first Sanderson, and I really liked it. I flew through it, and I suggest it. And there's the magic school. Grandma Aggie helps me escape to a new world, and on the same theme as Sanderson, I'm going with The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I love the Mistborn trilogy. I feel like almost everyone who's ever read it does, and I reread this back in April, and I just was swept right back up, and I loved it just as much. The Final Empire is my favorite of the trilogy, but I suggest the whole thing. This is about a girl named Vin who lives in this world where people consume metals and have magic. Either people are able to consume all 12 metals, and like each has like a power, or they're only able to consume one and it works for them. Our 2 main characters are Vin and Kelsier, both of which are Mistborn, which means that they're able to control all of the metals. And it's basically, the tagline is, what if the Dark Lord won? So the hero, the chosen one had gone up and fought against the Dark Lord, but the Dark Lord had won. This was about 1,000 years ago, and now the world sucks, and Vin and Kelsier are bringing together people to start a rebellion, and it's amazing. Please read it. I absolutely loved it. The next prompt is Calabar. Who is your favorite villain? I am going with the villain in the Dark Artifices trilogy. Now, I was not the biggest fan of this trilogy. I don't like forbidden love. I didn't like the parabatai to romance trope at all. And the only thing that really was great about this was the villain. I really liked his reasoning and the backstory. I'm not gonna say who the villain is because huge spoilers, but I think that the reveal was really great, and who it was quite shocking. And this takes place in the Shadowhunters universe in LA after the events of the Mortal Instruments, and people are dying, or Downworlders are dying, and Emma, Julian, and all the Black Thorns are trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of the trilogy overall, but I did really like the villain. Benny, a book that gets me out of a hard time, and I'm going with The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I read this my freshman year of college, and I was in a terrible, terrible reading slump. It was after reading Heartless by Marissa Meyer, which I just didn't like, and it was just, I could not pick up anything. I didn't want to read anything for like a month. And then I picked this up and everything changed. This is amazing. This is a retelling of Achilles in the Iliad with Patroclus, and they are best friends to lovers, and it's amazing and heartbreaking and just so, so good. I absolutely adored this, and I definitely suggest it. Luke, character with a hard exterior but who's really a softie. And I'm just pulling out all of Cassandra Clare's series, I guess, because I'm going with Will Herondale from the Infernal Devices trilogy. I mean, come on, how could I not? I love Will. He will always be like the epitome of like my book boyfriend. I have loved him since reading this series, and I just absolutely adore Will Herondale, and I will stick up for him till the end of my days. Cal, favorite guilty pleasure book. And now I'm going with a series that honestly I feel like I have not seen one person read on BookTube. That is the Tiger's Curse series by Colleen Hoke. Now, I have not liked any Colleen Hoke since this series, so I'm scared to reread it and see that maybe I'll hate it now, but I adored this series when I was younger. Adored it. I mean, I just loved it. This is about a girl named Kelsey who works at a circus one summer and becomes really close to the white tiger, and then she's hired to help take that tiger back to India, and she finds out he is an ancient prince who is cursed to spend most of his day except 24 minutes as a tiger. And she has to break the curse. And I just loved this series. This was it for me. I read this back in, I don't know, 6th or 7th grade. And I read it as each book came out. And I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. I remember the cliffhangers and the love triangle, which I hate love triangles, and I didn't love this one, but I thought it was done well enough, and it was just so good. And I don't know if I like it still, but I love it. Gort, a book I love but forget to talk about. Now this I have in like the back of my bookcase because it's each like 2 layers thick, and I continuously forget about it. That is Geekerella by Ashley Poston. Now, I did not like the sequel. I DNF'd it, but I loved this one. This was, again, kind of helped me out of a reading slump. I read this right after or before A Court of Wings and Ruin, like when that came out. I think I read it after because I was just in a slump after reading A Court of Wings and Ruin, and this was just so good. This is a modern day Cinderella retelling where a girl and her dad used to love watching this TV show together, but then after her dad dies, the show is rebranded as a movie, and her dad also started this convention, kind of like Comic-Con, and she tries to go to the convention even though her stepmother has forbidden her, and she is also has the main actor's cell phone, I think, and he has hers, or they somehow something like that happens because they start to connect, and she's super against the movie because she just loves the TV show so much. I'm not explaining it very well. It has been like 3 years, so It was very good though, and I highly suggest it. And now I have Beauty and the Bookish by her, and I think it's in the same like universe sort of thing, and I'm very excited to read it. Ethan, a character I want to go on a romantic broom ride with, and I'm going with Rysand from A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. I love Rhys. I mean, like, who doesn't? He is just, it's like Will Herondale, Rhys, or vice versa. I don't really know, but it's so good. This is about a girl named Farah who kills a wolf and is taken to the Fey lands to atone because it turns out the wolf was a fairy, and stuff happens. Basically, that's all I'm gonna say. It's kind of a Beauty and the Beast, Hades, Persephone, and then a different mythology retelling, kind of all rolled into one. It's very good, and I definitely suggest it. And Rysand, I would love to go on a broomstick ride with him. All right, and then the last prompt is Natalie. What is a book with a character who's very sure of herself, but in like a good way, like she's confident? And for this, I'm going with Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. I don't know why I chose this one. I was just looking at my shelves, and this just jumped out at me because Elizabeth Bennet is just so confident in who she is, and she doesn't let anyone change her, and guys will talk smack and she's just like, well, screw you. And I just love her. This is kind of iconic. It is about a family who kind of get in with this other family and their friend, and drama happens and romance, and there's Mr. Darcy, who, hot take, I don't like. I'm not a big Darcy fan. I've never really liked him. I think I might want to reread this, but when I read it, I was like, okay, like, he still sucks. Like, I never really liked him. I like him in adaptations, but just not in the actual book. I know, hot take, don't come after me. But yeah, and if you haven't read Pride and Prejudice, I definitely suggest it. It's a classic. Jane Austen is just a classic. So yeah. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below if you loved the Halloweentown movies just as much as I did when we were younger, and I will see you soon with another video.